Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rewatch. You've got George and Max here. We're talking about every single project between, Iron Man and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which comes out on, George, you want to finish my sentence? May 6th.
Look at you remembering things.
Yeah, I have a hard time remembering things, so it's a step in the right direction. But tonight we're talking about Ant-Man, talking about Paul Rudd's introduction to the MCU. George, kick us off.
This is one of the less than 5 MCU films that initially started, kind of wavering on it, and now is a favorite part of every rewatch. It has grown on me with every viewing, and I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times by now because I didn't get into the MCU until like 2019. Anyway, this one, Paul Rudd
a moment there, guys. Just
Paul Rudd
be patient
is
with
so
us.
gosh darn charismatic. He plays really well off of Michael Douglas, which is, they're a working, it's a working dynamic. They're professionally involved in the pursuit of the Yellow Jacket suit, but it's very much an odd couple relationship because they don't belong together. It's very awkward, very uncomfortable. You got Scott raising his hand when he's trying to have a conversation with Hank. It's a lot of fun. You get the 3 wombats, Luis, Kurt, and Dave. Michael Pena is an absolute gem, the star of the film, in my opinion. Evangeline Lilly, say what you will about her off-screen thoughts that she's made public recently. Pretty good debut, I think, as Hope Van Dyne. And
yeah, I think so. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to round out the cast here.
Yeah.
With Corey Stoll, who I adore. He is so talented. He plays every element of, psychotic, power-hungry businessman that works for the cliche villain, but works really well in the MCU when it's not completely overdone. Like if every villain were Obadiah Stane, for example, or Darren Cross in this film. If every villain were the, I'm an evil businessman trying to take over, the MCU wouldn't work. But when you use it and you use it right, like you do in Iron Man and like you do here, it really works. And just, my opening thoughts here, Peyton Reed, really, really good direction. This feels like a heist movie. It works like a heist movie. You got tons of different heists. I love heist movies. You know that I love heist movies. I chose to do a heist comedy for our Build a Movie draft last fall. And just shout out to Christoph Beck composing that Ant-Man score. And the main theme is mostly in 7, which is just chaotic that he would choose to write the main theme in 7 beats per measure. I don't understand that choice as a music major, but it works so well. It plays up the energy of the movie. I love it. This one's so much fun. Max, over to you.
It is a really fun movie, and I haven't seen it as many times as you have, George. So I think I'm still kind of getting over that hump of
you gotta get over
really
the hump.
appreciating this movie, and yet I still do find it remarkably enjoyable. Like it is fun. Paul Rudd, as you said, is so charismatic, and then the supporting cast I think does a really great job and plays their role really well. Whether it's for the motivations of the film or for the motivations of their own character, doesn't matter. I think done really well. It is a really well acted film. I do think my one qualm is actually with Darren Cross, my one major one. And it's not that I didn't like him or I didn't like Corey Stoll's performance. I just think he was a little bit bland for a villain.
That
And I
because he's
think he,
pale, white, and bald?
I mean,
Just because
not gonna
bland is
say
usually
no.
associated with plain,
Not gonna say
and
no
being
because I
bald is
think he.
plain?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was just saying that I think he. I think I'm sure. I just think that the motivations felt a little bit thin and simplistic, but I, in one way, I think that works because it is a heist film. It is essentially a comedy heist film, and the villain isn't necessarily the most important part of a heist film, right? It's the people that are actually doing the heist that you want to focus on, and the film absolutely does that. But I think when it comes to the MCU, to this point, we're still waiting on like a really great follow-up villain to Loki and the Avengers, right? We have Alexander Pierce and Hydra in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and we have, you know, well, I mean, even Guardians, not a fantastic central villain. We had a couple of really strong ones that helped sort of punch up some of the performances and the characterizations, but we're kind of in a drought, to be honest, when it comes to really strong villains. And Ant-Man could have delivered one, I think, in Darren Cross, and made him just that much more intimidating and that much more of a threat. But it kind of felt like a Scott dealing with his own demons type thing throughout the whole of the film. And I think I would have liked a little bit more focus on a higher quality villain, but very small, and that's more of a me thing than anything that is specifically wrong with the film.
Hey Max,
Hey George.
did you just say very small?
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this film, I compared Darren Cross to Obadiah Stane. Is another example of same versus same in the climactic battle. Two guys with the same powers fighting it out. It's just how it is. Happens in a lot of superhero movies.
I think this one was a little bit different though, just because of the scale. Quite literally, the scale of the fight was so much smaller than even in Iron Man, right? You're essentially destroying the Stark Industries R&D department in Iron Man, and then here you're destroying Thomas the Tank Engine in Ant-Man, and I think
Which is still a
that's really cool.
travesty for
Oh,
every
absolute
child who watched that
travesty.
video or
Yeah,
that
that's
movie.
that's traumatizing for sure.
That's gotta hurt every kid and kid at heart who watched Ant-Man to see that happen in the climax.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that kind of stuff looked really cool, and the same with everything once when Scott was Ant-Man, and when
Yeah, the visuals. I
yeah,
mean,
awesome.
you can make an argument that the visuals of this film are top flight, top 5 in the MCU just because of what you see when everything is big, when Scott is small, when the perspective shifts and you see Scott on the playset when he's fighting Darren Cross, or Scott in the bathtub, or Scott riding on the back of an ant, or even when he's in the quantum realm,
Mm-hmm.
when he messes with his regulator. The visuals, I mentioned the score and the direction and the humor. The visuals are another outstanding component of this film.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of when Darren gets hit into the electric fly swatter or bug killer
Yeah,
and it looks like he is an actual Yellow Jacket getting zapped, and then emerges from the water. And or maybe I'm mixing up the order, but when he comes out of the water,
Yeah, the water first,
as
and then
the water first, as like a normal sized human being, and that looks really intimidating. But then you
he
have that
shrinks.
other, and you have him get hit by like a ping pong paddle or something.
It's
And
understandable.
that's
Yeah.
really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Rudd is a superhero. I think it was an eventuality that everyone needed to realize at some point. I'm really glad that he ended up as Scott Lang. I think, Hank Pym is his own take on the Ant-Man character. But seeing Paul Rudd as a superhero and then having him be in this, like we said about Guardians, having it be essentially a comedy superhero movie, and then adding the heist element on top of that. I'm done breaking into places and stealing shit. What do you need me to do? I need you to break into a place and steal some shit. It's a fun movie. It's funny. And Paul Rudd is a great comic actor. So I think that this movie, it's funny because my score and ranking won't reflect how much I enjoy this movie. But keep in mind that it has raised significantly since the first time I saw it.
That's great. And speaking of rankings and ratings, why don't we jump into those, George?
Yeah. So 21 out of 32. I've hyped this movie up a lot, and maybe I need to rewatch it after the rewatch, and it'll move up more.
The rewatch.
Yeah. Don't give me any more ideas for series like that, because I might
Stay
make that a new
tuned for our
series.
next series, the rewatch, where we're going to start over.
We might, because there's more projects coming out this summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ant-Man 21 out of 32. It's fun. I like it. It's not exactly, you get the interaction with the Falcon, which is fun. But like it, and I'll say this again about like Guardians 2, it doesn't have that big of an impact on the MCU other than introducing the character. It's a great origin story. It's not that huge of a factor yet. Ant-Man and the Wasp, you get into the quantum realm and all that. As for my 0 to 100 score, I'm going to go higher than I did with Age of Ultron. That's for damn sure. I'm going to say an 82 out of 100. It's pretty good. It's I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's fun, and I think an 82 out of 100. On that tipping point between a B- and a B, where it could still climb. I've said that some rankings and ratings I've done have been like, this is the highest it's going to go for me. This is the lowest it's going to go for me. Ant-Man is on the rise, like a lot of other projects in the MCU. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one changes.
I'm in the same range, a little bit lower than you for both. I'm giving it a 75 out of 100. It is a solid C plus film, and I do think that it probably will rise as I watch it more. I've just seen it a few less times than you have, George. And so ranking out of 32, it'll be a 25. It is still near the bottom, but like with a lot of projects, that is due to the fact that there are so many high quality ones that are still to come that we still have to talk about, and that just pushes everything down. So yeah, that's going to do it for us tonight. We will come back at you tomorrow with Captain America: Civil War. I know it's a fan favorite. That's a pod favorite. It's a rewatch favorite. It's one of everybody's favorites. So we're excited to talk about that one. Until then, good night.
Have a good night, everyone.